the streets of Melrose Park to the trading floor of the Merc. He's fought for every dollar he's ever earned. And now, with personal liberty and our system of capitalism under assault in America, he's here to seize back our rights from the government with a cigar in one hand and a copy of the Declaration of Independence in the other. He's Sean Thompson, and this is the Sean Thompson Show.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag. Ooh, they're red, white, and blue.
The goal
Hail to the chief. Ooh, they point the cannon at you.
of the short in the pants mafia is complete disarray, mayhem, failure, collapse. So you take your eye off the ball. We've been the victims of theft. Trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. One of these clips, you know, they always stick out, right? All these clips, you listen to a lot of clips. This one's from a while ago, but it always sticks out. How do you blow $93 billion in a handful of days?
It's rare that I'm speechless. But I want to be sure I understood. The people running the Department of Energy for President Biden's administration shoveled $93 billion, not million, $93 billion out the door in 76 days, and it just happened to be the time between when President Trump was elected and President Biden, their boss, was leaving. Is that right?
It is correct and distasteful.
No, it's not. It's theft. It's unmitigated, absolute theft. And when you realize that some call president the election thief, the traitor and thief, Joe Biden, squandered what they want you to believe is $9 trillion in just debt during his tutelage, not to mention all of the money that goes out the door normally. And then you stumble on to where I believe the bulk of that money is. What the frack is an NGO, and how did they get $14.2 trillion?
The Federal Reserve has revealed that U.S. NGOs have more in assets than the combined 2025 GDP estimates for Japan, Germany, and India combined. India and Japan's GDP each just over $4 trillion, Germany $5 trillion, about $13.5 trillion together. Guess what? The combined assets held by U.S. NGOs equals $14.2 trillion of your tax money and that of your children and grandchildren and great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren.
And all this talk of American communism, tax the rich. Nobody is more rich than an NGO that produces nothing, that has zero cost except for the money that is stolen from we the people. And this all happens because of the Treasury? How the frack did that happen?
Like you said, they print the dollars. So why does the government even borrow?
Well, again, some of this stuff gets, some of the language that some of the language and concepts are just confusing. I mean, the government definitely prints money, and it definitely lends that money, which is why the government definitely prints money, and then it lends that money by selling bonds. Is that what they do?
Highest economic advisor to the dimwit in diapers. That's Jarrett Bernstein. That's not what they do, Jarrett. We could argue the principles and the fraud of monetized debt. But as I see what the Treasury does, they are unindicted co-conspirators in the theft of American tax dollars. Nobody at the Treasury could figure out that U.S. NGOs have $14.2 trillion.
Ever wonder why everything is so absolutely unaffordable today? It's not actually rocket science. Government has forgotten the fundamental reasons for which it was formed, to serve and protect our civil liberties. It has inverted the entire formula and decided that we are the ones here to serve.
Whoever keeps hitting that button, stop it. Now, when it comes to the Treasury and investigations into it, the mafia, known as the government, is protecting the way in which we can ascertain the information. Boasberg calling off the investigation into Jerome Powell. Does it seem political? Oh, it's just political. I mean, they both hate Trump and blah, 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 blah. He stole $1 billion. Stole $1 billion. There is no construction worth $1 billion on the small building.
He is asking for an assurance that the investigation into Powell has ended it. Are you willing to concede?
Did you hear what I just said? I just said that this decision will be appealed by the United States Department of Justice. That's the answer to your question. We're looking at 1001, and we're also looking at a statute having to do with fraud, but it's up to the grand jury to make that decision. We're $1 billion over in cost overruns.
He was just getting his beak wet. See, your little bureaucracies, your little states, your little municipality, just like Chirac, all get a budget. What happens to the money? Who asks any questions? And it's funny as you break down the governors of the most corrupt states in the country, all Democrats. And you see what they did in a short period of time from New York, New Jersey, Illinois. They took states that had businesses and they chased them out because they bankrupt and they use that excuse of taxing. And I'll get to the Hochul and all the rest of the hypocrisy of it. But it's more important. This is intentional. It's not misappropriation. It's not, oops, I don't know where the money is. They're stealing the money from state to state to state.
Can we explain to Californians how we moved from a $100 billion surplus to such a significant deficit in just a matter of a few years?
Well, it's, we can explain it. $349 billion of unprecedented capital gains, 11.6%, when traditional capital gains is around 5.18% on average. It's almost double. So you had massive volatility. You have requirements under Prop 2, the GAN. You have requirements under Prop 98, which...
And he'll blame the drought, he'll blame policies and procedures. But what he will not tell you, this fraud, lying moron, trust fund baby from the John Paul Getty fortune, Gavin Newsom, who's about a foot taller than J.B. Pritzker and can probably do at least 2 push-ups, unlike J.B. Pritzker, who can do none. What he will not tell you is very similar to what J.B. Pritzker will not tell you, or Kathy Hochul will not tell you, is that during the so-called pandemic, or as it's known on this show, the plandemic, California received $600 billion in excess federal money. They already received $380 billion in their safety net that they give to illegal aliens. They received another $600 billion at the same time. Gavin Newsom took the surplus they had prior to his governorship. He blew that. He blew the $380 billion, and he blew $600 billion.
Require that set aside. We use 93% of our surplus, which is, I want to be careful, either on the higher end or without precedent for one-time purposes. So we anticipated, because we didn't want that surplus to go to ongoing commitments.
Did you ever hear? This makes Kamala Harris sound like Socrates or Socrates, as she's known in Melrose Park.
Anticipated that shortfall. What we didn't anticipate is these rain bombs in December, January, February, and March.
What's a rain bomb? You mean weather? Well, wasn't it just 2 years? 2 years earlier. Weren't you complaining about fracking droughts, stupid?
And we are committing this year, in addition to that, working with the legislature, $5.1 billion budget specific to drought because of California's budget surplus, the $80+ billion operating surplus that we're enjoying here in the state. We're in a position to put $5.1 billion to use that will allow us to have emergency.
And you took care of that. The money is in the wind. And you think these imbeciles can run anything? Nothing. They can run nothing. And this goes for the Pugsley. Now he's on Ozempic, so he's Governor Oily Stoolstain. He used to be called Pritzker when he was a big fat slob looking like a beanbag. But the Ozempic trimmed him down because he's going to run for president against Gavin Newsom. Maybe they could run together. They could be like Laurel and Hardy, only twice as dumb with $1 trillion missing between the two of them.
We're doing extremely well in Iran. The difference between them and us is they had a Navy 2 weeks ago. They have no Navy anymore. It's all at the bottom of the sea.
We need to end this war, and it never should have happened. In fact, they should have gone to Congress anyway to get approval. And so the question of spending another $200 billion clearly...
Whoa, $200 billion? That's slippage in your ghetto state. Slippage in California, Illinois, New York, and New Jersey. Not to mention how you and your sister, what'd you ever do with that Ukraine money you stole? See, Ukraine has $300 billion gone.
The wife of a Ukrainian politician has been caught allegedly smuggling $28 million and 1.3 million euros in cash. Anastasia Kotwitska was caught by the authorities in neighboring Hungary carrying cash stashed in suitcases. Kotwitska is the
neighboring
wife of...
Hungary. I heard that. Did you hear that, Squirrel? I heard it. Neighboring Hungary. It turns out something else happened in Hungary. It turns out that more recently there was 2 carloads, 2 truckloads of our cash that was stopped at the Hungarian border. The Hungarian border, where it was stopped, $82 million and another $60 million in gold bars. All stopped at the Hungarian border. I can't help but notice the $300 billion that we sent to Ukraine. Can anybody tell me where any of that money is? And why don't you hear about that war anymore? Isn't it amazing how you don't hear about that war anymore? And the reason is you're used to getting the money stolen. You just need a good excuse to get it. And that's why now all of a sudden you're going to have Democrats from Illinois, California, and New York pretend they can run anything when all they can really do is misappropriate funds.
We've already spent billions and billions. We want to support our troops. We want to make sure that no one's, being put in harm's way as a result of not being supported. But on the other hand, we need to pull the troops back. We need to get out.
We're having a hard time. We want to talk to them, and there's nobody to talk to. We have nobody to talk to. And you know what? We like it that way.
He has done more in the shortest period of time than any politician has ever done when it came to the Islamo-Nazis. As the Islamo-Nazis have been killing our soldiers since 1979, but more than that, they've been terrorizing other countries. And nobody wants to talk about what they do and how they really live.
The very first terror attack in Kenya was witnessed on the March 1st, 1975, when multiple blasts hit a restroom at the Starlight nightclub, currently the Integrity Center, the Information Bureau, near the Hilton Hotel, and at the OTC bus station that left 27 people dead and over 100 people injured. The second terror attack in Kenya was the 1980 New Year's Eve bombing of the Norfolk Hotel in Nairobi, killing 20 people and injuring 80 others. The Kenya police at the time reportedly suspected the militants Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, the PFLP, as responsible, and the militants later claimed responsibility, saying the outrage was in revenge for Kenya's relative tolerance to Israelis.
And in the meantime of all of this conflict, somehow, whatever is left of the Iranian government found time to hang a couple of wrestlers because they spoke up against the theocracy.
Iran executed 3 men accused of killing 2 police officers during protests back in January. This includes 19-year-old Saleh Mohammadi, a member of Iran's wrestling team. Amnesty International says he was denied, quote, adequate defense and forced to make confessions. So I want to bring in CBS News contributor and Iranian activist Masih Alinejad. So let's talk more about this. Thanks for joining us. First and foremost, why would a government target athletes specifically? What makes them uniquely powerful or threatening compared to other citizens?
Because athletes are not athletes in Iran. They are the role model and heroes of...
Just like in Cuba, just like in the Soviet Union, when you have nothing, they give you something to grab on, they make it athletes. So you're distracted from how much money has been stolen from the people, just like in this country.
Hungary's government has released dramatic footage it says shows Hungarian forces seizing Ukrainian money transport vehicles and confiscating large amounts of cash and gold in an incident that has sharply escalated tensions between the two countries. Video posted by the government of Hungary on Friday showed heavily armed counterterrorism officers jumping out of a van at a highway service station as 2 Ukrainian armored vehicles pulled in. Officers were seen pointing guns at the windscreen before ordering the occupants out of the vehicles, handcuffing them, and forcing them to lie face down on the ground.
Have you seen this on the news? That 2 trucks full of cash and gold were caught at the Hungarian border from Ukrainians. The same Ukraine that has misappropriated hundreds of billions. I just want to be clear, because J.B. Pritzker says we can't give money to Donald Trump and the military to fight the Islamo-Nazis. And I can't help but remember his sister being tapped by Joe Biden to rebuild Ukraine. Where's the money, fat boy? 312-642-5600.
This is the Sean Thompson Show, where Democrats are always wrong, Republicans are seldom right, and politicians are never, ever to be trusted. On AM 560, The Answer.